That felt like nothing short of a massive weekend for the Boston Red Sox in New York. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbett. Thank you very much for clicking on this video. Not going to put it any other way, but these were really big wins for the Boston Red Sox. They took 3 out of 4 games from the New York Yankees, officially putting them at 71-60 on the season, 11 games over 500. Good for the top wildcard spot in the American League, thanks to their performance directly against the New York Yankees by a half game and a full game up on the third place Seattle Mariners. The only unfortunate part about this weekend was that in terms of the division standings, the Blue Jays kind of matched you a little bit, right? They also won 3 out of 4 games this weekend, so it was tough for us to sit here and say that they made any legitimate progress towards competing in the division. Still 5 games back of the Blue Jays, but to be honest with you, I'm okay with that, right? Because this weekend, regardless of how they did in terms of their division, was really big for the Red Sox. I mean, we talked about this a couple of times leading up to this series. This was sort of a playoff in August type atmosphere. The Red Sox needed to come in here and they needed to perform. Taking 3 out of 4 games is pretty much the second best thing the Red Sox could have done this weekend, right? And they kind of embarrassed the Yankees along the way to get to 3 out of 4 of these games. So I don't know about you, but I am extremely happy about how the Red Sox performed. But the question we are answering today is, how were they able to do it, and how could they continue to do things like this going forward? Well, in my opinion, the easiest answer as to why the Red Sox were able to go in there into the Bronx, into a series that felt like a legitimate playoff series in the middle of August, and take 3 out of 4 games from the New York Yankees was very simple. It's that the Red Sox pitching staff was better overall than the Yankees pitching staff. And specifically, I'm talking about the Red Sox bullpen, who were, for a majority of this weekend, just simply lights out. In fact, in this weekend, they pitched in 12 innings across this 4-game set. They allowed just 5 hits and 2 earned runs. And the only runs that came in this bullpen were, of course, off of Walker Buehler, who gave up a 2-run moonshot to Jazz Chisholm, of all players, in the finale of this series. So before the end of this series, really before like the 7th, 8th inning here, the Red Sox bullpen completely shut the Yankees down. Now, I don't know what you do with Walker Buehler, right? This guy comes out of the rotation. He's not very good in the rotation. They say, hey, maybe you'll be a productive bullpen arm. The stuff could play up a little bit in the bullpen. You could look like a bit of a different pitcher out there. He says, I understand, it sucks, I understand, I'll do it. Goes out there and immediately doesn't look very good. We'll see what ends up happening with Walker Buehler. I don't know, maybe there's some arsenal things he can work with. Maybe there's just simply pitch usage. Maybe it's just simply where the Red Sox end up using him that ends up working out fairly well. Maybe he is just a 1-inning reliever, but I'm not going to sit here and spend my time complaining about him. Guys like Chapman, Weiser, Matz, Whitlock, they all had really big moments in this series. Wilson, Bernardino, right? The rest of the bullpen, I mean, to the point where the bullpen was so good that Jordan Hicks, of all players, was able to go out there and shut the Yankees down, right? That's when you know the bullpen's going super well, when Jordan Hicks is putting up scoreless frames. Without this bullpen, the Red Sox simply do not win this series, and I got to tip all of my caps to the Red Sox bullpen because they did absolutely 100% of their job and more in this one, and really in tight spaces and really against really good hitters. Ben Rice, Aaron Judge, right? You were able to shut those guys down in the back half of these games to the point where they were a non-factor. Aaron Judge did nothing this series, and in large part, that's due to what the Red Sox bullpen was able to do. But that doesn't mean we didn't get any good performances from the rotation either. In fact, Brayan Bello gave us one of the better performances, I think, from any Red Sox player this season. It was 7 innings, just 3 hits, 0 earned runs. He walked just 1 batter, struck out 5. Bello's ERA is now down to a 3.07 on the season. That's a top 10 ERA in the American League. He's becoming one of the more underrated pitchers in the entire sport of baseball. In fact, this was his second start this season against the Yankees, where he went 7 or more innings, did not allow an earned run, and allowed 3 or less hits. That's the first time someone's done that in the history of the Red Sox organization. He knows when to show up against this Yankee team, and it feels like he does every single time. He's got a sub-2 ERA against the Yankees in his entire career. This guy loves the big moments. He shows up for the big moments. And right now, he is very clearly one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball, specifically one of the better pitchers in the American League. We talk all the time about how the Red Sox need a number 2. Brayan Bello is filling that role really well right now, but that leaves room for a number 1, and obviously we have a number 1, and that's Garrett Crochet, who did war pig things against the Yankees this weekend, going 7 innings in his own right, allowing 5 hits, just 1 earned run was scored. It was a solo shot off of Giancarlo Stanton. He struck out 11 batters during that time frame. That officially put him at over 200 strikeouts on the season. That puts him in the category with Pedro Martinez, Roger Clemens, Chris Sale, just maybe the best pitchers in Red Sox history. This is also his 500th strikeout of his career to bring his ERA down to a 2.38. It is so genuinely awesome that the Red Sox can win the first 2 games of a 4-game set, and Yankee fans just sit there and go, okay, well, best case scenario, we're only going to be able to take one of these 4 games because the Red Sox have Garrett Crochet going tomorrow. I don't know how often in the last few years we've been able to put that kind of fear in opposing fan bases just simply based on who's on the roster, right? When was the last time in a rotation you had a fan base going, yeah, well, we'll get him next time. We got Garrett Crochet on the mound. This is already a loss for our team. It has been a long time, and Crochet is doing that right now to basically every fan base in baseball. It's just that much sweeter when you're already taking 2 out of 2 games from the New York Yankees. You're going in trying to get 3 out of 4. So I don't know. I just love Garrett Crochet, and of course he delivered in this time span, but the other part of this rotation wasn't as fantastic. Because Giolito and May, they didn't really have these shutdown outstanding performances like the bullpen and the rest of the rotation was able to do. Giolito went out there, he gave up 3 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings on 5 hits with 3 walks and 4 Ks. It's not like it was a terrible start. The ERA is still at 3.72. He's still a sub-4 ERA pitcher. He just does this thing once in a while. It feels like it's like every 2 or 3 starts where he just simply throws too many pitches, right? He just simply can't get out of a 5-inning stretch here where, he's at like 98 in the 5th or whatever. And I'm okay with that, especially with where the bullpen's at right now and the fact that it's like every 2 or 3 starts. If it was every single start, I think we'd have a little bit of a different conversation or a different tone to what he's doing right now, but I'm all right with it, right? I'm okay with it, especially when you got Bello, especially when you got Crochet. He just needs to figure out how to go longer to games. I think part of that is he didn't really pitch a full season last year, so he's still trying to, even deep into this season, really try and figure out his conditioning, his timing with all of that. So the other person was obviously Dustin May. He was a little bit worse than Giolito was. He ended up going 4 1/3 innings, 5 earned runs, 5 hits, 3 walks, 3 Ks, and 3 homers. Honestly, it's a little bit discouraging. It looked like May had really started to turn a corner for the Red Sox. His last couple starts, it was like 6 innings, no earned runs, and it wasn't against nobody teams, right? Obviously, one of them was the Marlins, but the other one was the Houston Astros that he totally shut down. It looked like, okay, the Red Sox had found something here. He was hitting the zone. He wasn't giving up a ton of hard contact. There was not really a ton of runs scored against him. This could end up being a really solid number 5 starter for the Red Sox down the stretch. To see him sort of take that step backward and look pretty much exactly the same as when the Red Sox got him, to me, I don't really love that all that much. I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt and hope that it was just a misstep from Dustin May, but the Red Sox really can't have a guy who just simply can't get through 5 innings twice in the back end of their rotation, especially with the fact that you now moved Walker Buehler to the bullpen, right? Those 2 combinations, to me, really scares me a bit. You've got Bello, you've got Crochet, and then it's like, okay, possibly Giolito, and then it's like, maybe Dustin May, and then it's a question mark. I would rather have one of those 2 guys end up being a legitimate sort of, we got this guy, we know what we're going to get from him type pitcher, but And I think Giolito's been that for most of the season here, so I don't want to discredit what he's done too much, and I obviously don't want to complain too much about it, right? I mean, again, you take it 3 out of 4 games from the Yankees, most part, your pitching staff was really positive, so I don't want to sit here and harp on the negatives all that much, because again, without this pitching staff, you just simply don't win these baseball games. But what about the offense? How did they get the job done in New York? There were good performances overall, I think, in this series from the offense, but it was kind of a weird one in terms of their production. There were 3 guys that did stand out. above everybody else in terms of their production for the Sox. The first one was Alex Bregman, who got his first taste of the rivalry this weekend. I didn't realize that Bregman had been injured in both the series against the New York Yankees before this. I had no idea, right? This was his first game against the Yankees in a Red Sox uniform. Not that the Houston Yankees rivalry isn't been really heated lately, but it just feels different in a Red Sox uniform. And of course, this dude comes in and delivers. He goes 7 for 16 at the dish, did not strike out once, walked 3 times. I mean, that's just ridiculous production, is it not? This guy, he's been doing this all year, where he comes into big situations, he performs. That's exactly what he did in this series. But speaking of coming into big situations and performing, and speaking of reasons the Red Sox won this series, Nathaniel Lowe, right? If Nathaniel Lowe isn't on this ball club, I don't think you take 3 out of 4 games here in New York. This dude has been probably the offensive MVP for the Sox in this series. He had 12 at-bats, 6 hits, he drove in 5 runs. I mean, it feels like every single time this guy is up there right now, he's doing something the Red Sox desperately need. He is now 7 for 16 with the Red Sox with 7 RBIs. We talked about how impactful he could be with the Red Sox if they were able to right his ship, right? For most of his career, he's been one of the more productive first basemen offensively in Major League Baseball. Red Sox took a chance on the fact that, hey, this may have just been a tough situation in DC, and we're going to get him out of that, and we're going to see if we can get him back to what he was. And so far, that's exactly what he's doing, right? And I don't expect this production fully for the rest of the month going forward, but this is a really, really good sign, right? If the Red Sox can get this guy back to what he was, he could totally change this offense, and we're seeing exactly how he can do that in this series. Again, another guy. You don't have him, you don't win these games. And the third person I wanted to shout out, because while both these guys had really good moments in this series, Roman Anthony by far and away had the biggest moment, right? We talked about it in a video. I mean, the bat flip, the stare down, the actual second deck home run, top of the 9th inning as a 21-year-old in New York, making his mark on one of the greatest rivalries in sports history. It was just absolutely awesome. Now, the series as a whole wasn't super great for him. It was 4 for 17 at the dish, but that one swing was just so damn cold, I had to put him in here, right? And we'll see, there were some interesting things with Roman Anthony in this series. Really tough at-bats against really tough lefties. It's still something he's working on. There were still some times where it was like, you need a little bit more from your leadoff guy, but he's still producing way above, I think, what anyone sort of expected him to perform like, especially after his first couple weeks in the big league. So I'm not going to sit here and be totally mad about it. An awesome performance this weekend from Roman Anthony, specifically in that first game. And there were other guys who did well in this series offensively. Trevor Story had a big game. Connor Wong had a really good game in this series. That's fantastic, right? He's actually been hitting pretty well for the Red Sox lately. Narvaez had some big moments. Cedon had some big moments, right? Jarren Duran is really the one person in this offense that was totally missing in this series. He didn't really do much of anything in any of these games, so hopefully the Red Sox can get him back on track. They need him, right? But outside of that, there were, I think, big moments throughout the entirety of this lineup. But what's interesting about it is they still struggled with runners in scoring position despite the fact that they won 3 out of 4 games. In fact, overall, while they hit 273 with a 795 OPS here, outside of the one game that the Red Sox just absolutely bashed the Yankees' skulls in, they were just 5 for 36 with runners in scoring position and left 30 men on base. There's still work to do here. And I think it's pretty clear, right? There's still frustrating moments with this offense. There's still not great situational hitting in moments where you need good situational hitting. But again, I could sit here and we could talk about the issues, or we could focus on the fact that despite the issues, they were still able to do enough, or they were able to take 3 out of 4 games from this team, right? They're not the juggernaut offense that we saw a little bit ago, but the signs of life are there, and they started putting together really good games and really good at-bats in this series, so you're starting to see it come back a little bit. I'm not going to sit here and complain too much about the runners left on base when you're winning games, even when you do leave a bunch of runners on base. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. Ultimately, overall, what could happen in this series is we could have sat here and we could nitpick the things that maybe didn't go 100% correctly, or nitpick the things that we could sit here and say, hey, how are these going to evolve over the next couple of weeks? But at the end of the day, what really matters is the win and losses. And ultimately, that's what's going to matter down the stretch here. The Red Sox need to win more games than they lose down the stretch, and they need to put themselves in a position where they are in a postseason at the end of this year. And by doing things like taking 3 out of 4 games in what was legitimately legitimately a playoff series in August is exactly what they need to do. Personally, I don't really care how they get there, right? There are things that could continue to make me nervous about this Red Sox team, but as long as those W's keep adding up in the win column and the losses are very minimal in the loss column, there's not really much for me to sit here and complain about. The Red Sox had this opportunity. We spoke about this opportunity multiple times leading up to it. It felt like every eye in Red Sox Nation was on this series. It felt like it was one of the most hyped up series of the last few years. I mean, genuinely, we talked about it on our live stream in the first game of this series. This felt like the biggest series the Red Sox had since the postseason back in 2021, didn't it? I mean, that's how big this series felt for the Red Sox. And not only did they come in here and perform, there were times where they just flat out dominated. They made the Yankees look like they weren't even a competitive baseball team at point in this series. And not only does that feel sweet in terms of it being the Yankees, but it also meant so much in terms of how can we still believe in the Boston Red Sox. This is exactly what they needed to do, and they absolutely did it. The only thing better would have been the Red Sox coming in here and sweeping this 4-game set, and then all of a sudden, you're very comfortable in a postseason spot, but that's an incredibly difficult thing to do, right? It's very rare that you get a 4-game sweep against any team in Major League Baseball, so I'm taking 3 out of 4 games every single time. I would have taken 2 out of 2 games. This was just an absolute cherry on top. It being against the Yankees made this thing so much better, and there were big performances throughout it, so let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think? What did you think about the series? What did you think about the performances? And how do you think this impacts the Red Sox going forward? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps out a ton. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.